A very good morning to all the students. Welcome back to studies. So today we're gonna start our next chapter, that is chapter number 3, atoms and molecules. So we have read that all matter is made up of small particles called atoms or molecules. And an atom is the smallest particle of an element that can take part in a chemical reaction. And for molecules, molecule is an electrically neutral group of two or more atoms chemically bonded. That means when two or more atoms combines, they form a molecule. So the atom is the smallest particle of an element, but a molecule is the additional part of two or more elements or atoms. So today we will be learning about these atoms and molecules and how the molecules are formed from the combination of atoms. But before we start, we're going to study about some laws of chemical combinations. So whenever two different atoms combine, they form a molecule, and when this combination occurs, it forms a reaction. So in any chemical reactions, there are certain rules which are observed. In that observation, these laws have been formed, which are called as laws of chemical combinations. So there are two laws of chemical combinations. Number one is law of conservation of mass. So as the name suggests, law of conservation of mass, that means the mass or the weight of the atom or the molecules is being conserved. That means it remains constant. So this law was given by Lavoisier in 1774, and according to this law, matter is neither created nor destroyed in any chemical reaction. That means whenever there is a chemical reaction, the matter does not change, it remains constant. For example, whatever quantity we are taking as a reactant, the same quantity will be formed as product. It means that in a chemical reaction, the total mass of the product is equal to the total mass of the reactant. So there is no change in mass during a chemical reaction. For example, like Mg, magnesium, reacts with oxygen, it forms magnesium oxide. So here I've written 2Mg, O2 and 2Mg. So I would like to explain you why these reactions are written like this, because in class 8 also you have read about some reactions. There your teacher or I was balancing the reactions. So the need of this balancing the reaction occurs to fulfill the law of conservation of mass, which tells us that matter is neither created nor destroyed. It remains same in any chemical reactions. Like you cannot create any matter, neither you can destroy. If you are having 1 plus 1, it will always be 2. It will not be 4. It will not be 1. So it will always add up. So that means the number of reactants will always be equal to the number of products, or the mass of the reactant will always be equal to the mass of the product. So here magnesium, so we take atomic number. Now you will be thinking, what is this atomic number? So I will explain you a little bit about atomic number. That any element, like if it's an atom, example, it is a structure of atom. So in the structure of atom, in the atom there is nucleus in the center, and in the center resides protons plus neutrons, and outside this resides a orbit which is called as orbital. So here resides electron. So we will be learning about this structure of atom in detail in the next chapter, but for your just quick knowledge, I will just tell you. So this number of proton, it is atomic number. Okay, and sum of proton plus neutron is mass number. Okay, so we are reading about atomic number. So any element, example, it is oxygen. So oxygen has atomic number 8, and so oxygen has proton equals to 8. So therefore atomic number is 8. But when we talk about mass number, so oxygen has 8 proton plus 8 neutron. So that means the mass number is sum of proton and neutron. So it will be 8 plus 8, that means 16. So 16 is mass number or atomic mass, same thing. Okay, so atomic mass, when we are talking about mass, that means we have to take mass, because in this we have written that the total mass of the product is always equal to the total mass of the reactant. So when we are talking in terms of mass, so we will have to take mass. So here written mg, that means the mass of magnesium is mg having atomic number equals to 12. So atomic mass or mass number, same thing, 24. Okay, double, because it depends upon number of neutrons plus number of protons. So we will be studying this in detail in the next chapter. So we have to take mass number. So here the mass of magnesium is 24 and oxygen is 16. So oxygen is a diatomic gas, so it does not occur in a single form. So here that is why we have written O2. So when it comes to here, that means it is 2 times O. So when it is 2 times O, that means 2 times 16, because 2 oxygen means 2 mass numbers, that means 1 oxygen has mass number 16, so 2 oxygen will have mass number 16. So 16 into 2, and here 2 magnesium means again magnesium 2 times, that means 24 and into 2. Okay, then here this 2 MgO, that means MgO, it will be plus here, so 24 plus 16 and 2 in the out, so it will be in the bracket because 2 is multiplied with Mg and plus O. So it's 24 plus 16 because mass number of magnesium is 24 and of oxygen is 16. That is why it's plus here and 2 outside. So this is a reactant. If you remember in class 8 you have read that in a chemical reaction the things which reacts are called as reactants. Like magnesium is reacting with oxygen, so magnesium here is reactant and oxygen here is also reactant. So these two are reactants and this is product. So when reactants combine, they form a product and it's a chemical reaction. So our law of conservation of mass states that in a chemical reaction the total mass of the product is equal to the total mass of the reactant, or the sum of the mass of the reactant is always equal to the sum or the mass of the product. So the sum of the mass of the reactant, so mass is here 2 mg, it means 2 into 24 and 16 into 2 plus, so it is 24 into 2 48 and here 32. So when we'll add this we will get 48 plus 32 80. Okay, 80 here and here 80, so that means 80 and 80 it is equal. That means in any chemical reaction we cannot change the mass of anything, it has to be remain constant. That is why we need to balance the chemical reaction. After this I will take with another example, like if we take water H2O. Okay, so now H2, how it is formed? When hydrogen H2 combines with oxygen, it gives H2O. Now here I have written H2 because hydrogen is again a diatomic gas and oxygen is also a diatomic gas, so that is why I have written 2 here and 2 here as well. So it forms water. But when we'll see that it is 2H, okay, H is 2 times and O is 2 times. So According to the law of conservation of mass, the sum of the reactant, the mass of the sum of the reactant is always equal to the mass of the product. So here should be 2H2. Okay, here it's 2H2, but O2, but here is only one O. So we cannot write 2 here. If we will write 2 here, it will change the formula. But we cannot change the formula because water has a fixed formula, that is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. If I write 2 oxygen here, it will be something else. That won't be water. So we can't do any change in the formula. So we can put 2 here. When we put 2 here, it does not change the formula. It only tells us there are 2 molecules of water. So I've explained you about atoms. So atoms are the smallest particle of an element which can take part in a chemical reaction, but molecules is a group of atoms which have a definite formula and which combine to form a new substance or a new compound. So water is a compound which is formed by the combination of hydrogen and oxygen, but we cannot change the formula because it has a fixed formula, that is H2O. So by putting 2 here, we are telling that it is 2 times water. It is 2 molecules of water. Okay, so here H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. So let's check out. No, hydrogen is 2, but here is 2 and 2, that means 4. So I have to put 2 here also. Now it is 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen, and 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen. Clear? So in the term of mass, we'll do again like 2 into, now this atomic mass or mass number of hydrogen is 1, because hydrogen has only one proton and it does not have any neutron, and atomic mass is the sum of proton and neutron, so it has only one. And here again, so it will be like this, because 2 hydrogen here plus O2, like 16 here mass number, and 2, 16 into 2. So I will put equals to here, so 2 here, and it is 2 plus 16. Okay, so here it is 4 plus 32, and here it is 2 plus into this 30. Sorry, it will be 18. Okay, so it will be 36 equals to 2 8s are 36. So these are equal. That means the sum of the mass of the reactant is equal to the mass of the product, 36, 36. So that is the law of conservation of mass. We are having few more questions in our book that we'll be solving. Before that, we'll move. Okay, before that, I would like to take an example from the book, NCERT book. So in this, we have been given an activity. In this activity, we have been given some elements or some compounds. Now elements are the purest form, like if we'll break the element we will get atoms, but compounds are the mixture, or they are made by mixing 2 atoms. So these are compound because it's copper sulfate. Only copper is an element, but copper sulfate is a compound. So here are some compounds, so named as X and Y. In this, either we will take this copper sulfate and sodium carbonate, so this is X and Y, or we will take barium chloride and sodium sulfate, or lead nitrate or sodium chloride. So these are one set, second set and third set, different sets. So we can take any of them. For example, we take this barium chloride and sodium sulfate. So here is a diagram also. We will have a conical flask like this. Into this, we will fill it with half of the solution Y. We take this second one, barium chloride and sodium sulfate. So here is solution Y, that is here it's sodium sulfate in this conical flask. A mixture, we will dissolve this sodium sulfate. It is in a liquid form, aqueous form, and in this test tube we will have solution X. Let's say barium chloride in this test tube. Okay, so now we have tied it with a thread, and this thread it's tightly hold with the cork. so this won't move. This is in this test tube we are having barium chloride, and in this conical flask we are having sodium sulfate. So after this we'll measure it or we'll weigh it. Whatever the weigh comes, we'll note it down. Okay, so we are also being given the amount of barium chloride and the weight of sodium sulfate. So after we will measure it, so it will be always this plus this. Okay, so after it happens, we gonna move this cork. So once we just shift this cork, this thread will be loosened up, and this test tube will fall down in the liquid. Like it will be fall down in the liquid in such a manner. It will fall down in the liquid. So all this solution will come out and it will get mixed with this solution. So there will be a reaction. Barium chloride will react with sodium sulfate and we will get barium sulfate, BaSO4, and sodium chloride. Okay, so after getting this is a product which is produces precipitates. Precipitate means it forms some unsoluble part in the this conical flask that it will not react. Okay, so there will be a PPT of this barium sulfate and NaCl will be formed. So when this mixture will be formed, we'll again weigh it. So we will find that there will be a equal weight. So the weight of these two when they weren't mixed was same, and when they are mixed the weight is same. That means it happens because of law of conservation of mass, that in any chemical reaction the weight or the mass of the reactants and the products remain constant. Okay, so this is your first law of chemical combination, that is law of conservation of mass, and it was given by Lavoisier in 1774, and it says that matter is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction, or in a simple terms it is that in any chemical reaction the total mass of the product is always equal to the sum of the mass of the reactants. So moving to the next, that is law of constant proportion. Now this is the second law of chemical combination, and that is a law of constant proportion. Now this law was given by Prost in 1797, and it states that in any chemical substance the elements are always present in a definite proportion by mass. Now previously we have read that in any chemical reaction the mass of the reactant, the mass of the product is always equal to the mass of the reactants. Now in this second law there is always a constant proportion, or a definite proportion. If for example you want to make any new thing, you want to make tea for example, okay, so to make tea you have set number of ingredients, only then after you can make tea. If any of the ingredient is missing, you will not be able to make tea, it will be something else. Okay, so you have to take definite things in a definite proportion to make a recipe. So here also whenever a new compound is formed, we always have to take the thing and we have to have the equal proportion, then only that substance will be made. For example, I will again explain you this in a chemical substance. Example, let's take water, a chemical substance. Water, I'm saying a chemical substance because water is also only formed by the reaction of hydrogen and oxygen. So it's a chemical substance. Although it present in nature, but some time back it has been formed from the chemical reactions. So the elements are always present in a definite proportion. If the proportion is distorted or it is disturbed, that thing will not form. So example here is of water. Again I'm taking water. Now the ratio in which hydrogen and oxygen are present is 1:8. Okay, if example we to make water, we always need 2 times hydrogen and 1 time oxygen. So if it is disturbed, we won't get water. We will get something else. Like when you see any recipe, you see a different proportion. Like you have to take 2 grams of this, 4 grams of that. If you just interchange the things, the product will not come out as you have expected. So we have to take a constant proportion, that is a law of definite proportion, or a constant proportion, that is a chemical substance. In a chemical substance, the elements are always present in a definite proportion by mass. So here I've simplified water, H2O. So in this H2O, we know that its hydrogen has 1 mass, atomic mass, so it's into 2. Oxygen has 16 atomic mass, so the sum of the water molecule, or the mass of water molecule, is 18. Okay, so if we'll just take what is the ratio of hydrogen and oxygen to make water, so hydrogen upon 2, because we have found the ratio, so 2 times hydrogen. So because hydrogen has only 1 atomic mass, so it is 2, although it's 2 times, but the mass of hydrogen is lesser, so 2, and the mass of oxygen, single oxygen, is 16. So when we divide, it's 1 upon 8. So in any cases or in any circumstances, the mass of the water, the definite proportion of the mass of these things will always be 1:8. Like hydrogen will always be 1:8 ratio to the water, or to the oxygen, sorry, not water, oxygen. So it is the law of constant proportion, or the law of definite proportion. So if you will take any water from rainwater, if you will take water from well, if you will take water from river, wherever you will take, it will always have a definite formula of H2O, and it will always have the quantity of hydrogen 1, and the mass by mass 1, and the mass of oxygen 8. So because it is 1:8 ratio. Okay, another example, NH3. Okay, so this is ammonia, NH3. So for ammonia, here is N and hydrogen, so nitrogen and hydrogen. So nitrogen is having atomic mass of 14 and hydrogen having 1. So it's 3 so into 3. So it is 14:3. So the definite proportion of the masses of these atoms are 14:3. Okay, so we say about CO2, we talk about carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide, we know that this has a this formula of CO2. Okay, that means carbon is having atomic number 6 and atomic mass 12, and this is oxygen, 16 into 2, that is 12 plus 32, it is 44. So always in any circumstances, when we breathe out, we exhale CO2. When we burn any fossil fuel, we get CO2. When we heat limestone like calcium carbonate, we get CO2. Or any reaction occurs in where we get CO2, so that CO2 will always have this fixed portion, a proportion of things, and its mass will always remain constant, it is 44 grams. Okay, so in the CO2, if we'll see that here the carbon is 12 and this oxygen is 16, because so 16 into 2 actually, so it is 32, 12 upon 32. Okay, so if we'll cut this, we'll get this 4 3s are 12 and 4 is 2. So its ratio is 3:8. So always from wherever source we get this CO2, this CO2 will always be in a proportion that is, the carbon will always be in 3 ratio and the oxygen will always be in 8 ratio. So if the ratio is change or it's disturbed, we won't get the same product, we will get some other thing. Like we say CO here is not carbon dioxide because it has different proportion. Like CO is 12 carbon and 16 oxygen. So this proportion is different. Okay, so this will form some other gas which is CO. Now CO has a different property. Plants do not exhale this CO, neither we inhale this, plants intake carbon dioxide to form photosynthesis, but this CO, because carbon is present here and oxygen is present here, but it does not hold the property of CO2 because the ratio is different. Okay, so when there are always two oxygen and one carbon, that is called carbon dioxide, and this is carbon monoxide, and these two gases have different properties. Okay, so those properties are different from each other because the ratio is also not same. Here the combination of CO is 12:16, or a simpler form we can say 3:4. Okay, so 3:4 is different from 3:8 because when it's 4 oxygen, that means the gas is different, and when it's 8 oxygen, the gas is different. That means the CO forms CO2 has 3:8 ratio. CO2 and CO has 3:4 ratio. So when this proportion is disturbed, we get different things. Although the change is not very much, but the product we get is different. So in any chemical, there is a certain rule that the elements has always present in a definite proportion by mass, or we can say the elements are always present in a definite proportion by mass. That is the second law of chemical combination, that is law of constant proportion or law of definite proportion. So today I have explained you this. So in the next lecture also we'll take with these two chemical combination, and we will be solving some more question with this so that you can understand it properly. So for today's homework, I'm giving you 2 questions only. You will just try them, and then in the next lecture I will be discussing those questions with you. Okay, so please practice those questions, and in the next lecture first I'm going to explain you those questions. I hope you will be able to solve by your own, but if you don't, then I will explain you. I will start my lecture with the explanation of those 2 questions. Okay, so till then, take care and study hard. Thank you.